Hello there, Lunar Squadron, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about brand new details that have surfaced for an upcoming Star Wars game. I honestly cannot believe, Andreas, that we are already talking about a brand new Star Wars game, because I thought after Jedi Survivor it would be quite some time before we got any information about a new Star Wars game, but that does not seem to be the case, as brand new details for Ubisoft's upcoming open world Star Wars game were released earlier today. And in this video we're going to be breaking down and talking about all of the brand new information that we received about this game, its release date, stuff about the game. We got a bunch of stuff, so we're going to talk about it. But first, if you're new to the channel, we would love to have you as always, and the way to do that is just go down below this video, hit the little subscribe button, the bell notification right on next to it. It will notify you every single time Andreas and I upload. Now, without that out of the way, Andreas, let's talk about an open world Star Wars game.
Yeah, let's do it, guys.
All right, Andreas, I don't know about you, but for me, this came as a huge surprise when this article was dropped by Kotaku earlier this morning, detailing new stuff about Ubisoft's upcoming open world Star Wars game. I was not expecting to get any information about this game anytime soon. Are you as shocked as I am about this?
You know, it's kind of a yes and a no. I think I'm always shocked when we get Star Wars news, given that I feel like we're all kind of a little bit abused when it comes to Star Wars content in the video game space. But on the other side of things, we are kind of entering this new era post the closure of the EA exclusive license. And I'm almost maybe not expecting, but hoping for a little guidance from Lucasfilm Games. I'm not shocked that the first thing that we're hearing is this, like, you know, it's from like an anonymous source from Kotaku. Like this, like we've seen a lot of news come out by way of leaks and stuff like this. But I was almost hoping for more of an official, like, here's the next steps in terms of the next steps for Star Wars in gaming. But you know, I'll take what I can get, and it looks like this time it's going to be someone who wished to remain anonymous because they were not authorized to speak to press. That's just like classic Star Wars right there, Nick, right?
It really is. And, you know, for me, the most surprising thing about this article is how it starts off immediately by saying that Kotaku has learned the French publisher's open world game is currently targeting a projected release date in early 2024 as the company scrambles for a major win after a year of delays and projects trapped in development hell. That was really shocking to me to learn that Ubisoft is targeting an early 2024 release date. Like, they're targeting within the next year having this open world Star Wars game out, when we really haven't gotten anything official in terms of gameplay or trailer or anything about this game, or any smoke that something like that was coming soon. So that really shocked me that Ubisoft is pushing to have this game out in 2024. Now, as we continue through the article, we'll learn that this might not be as realistic as Ubisoft hopes. But the big thing also that I take away from this statement is that they're pushing this game, like, to get this done because they need a win because of the delays and development hell and the big L's that they've taken as a studio over the last few years. But I don't want them to rush the Star Wars game, because then that's just going to turn into another L, and then that would just be a disaster for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, as you guys know, Ubisoft has been kind of down bad recently. This article does a good job of walking through in, you know, a few quick lines here. Mario and Rabbids, Just Dance 2023 were the only major games for Ubisoft last year. That's pretty ridiculous, just given what you expect from Ubisoft, given their history of always throwing up, you know, Assassin's Creed after Assassin's Creed, moneymaker after moneymaker. Skull and Bones has been in this, like, indefinite delay period, and that game is not a promising game. I personally was excited for it because I love pirates, but like it doesn't look like it's going to be the moneymaker. And then Avatar supposed to come out last year, but it's pushed into 2023. So Nick, you're totally right. Ubisoft is desperate for a big win, and I'm really hoping that they're not going to rush this project, because, and what I'd love to talk about next, Nick, this is a really ambitious Star Wars project, right? Like, this is not something that is meant to be rushed.
Yeah, this sounds like an incredible an ambitious project from Ubisoft, but we know from their history that Ubisoft has the tendency to overpromise and underdeliver when it comes to their games. You know, they're famous for their E3 conferences where they'll show off the trailer that looks like game-breaking technology and game-changing technology, and then you get your hands on the game and it's nowhere close to what they showed off, and it's nowhere close to what they have said. So Ubisoft likes to cry wolf a little bit from time to time with some of their big games. And like you said, their recent games and recent releases have been a complete disaster. Ubisoft as a studio as a whole does not have a good recent history when it comes to their games. So I am incredibly concerned about this game. And as this article continues, it talks about how this game was first revealed back in early 2021, and it is known internally as Project Helix, and it is being developed with Massive as the lead studio. Now, we knew that this is the studio that was in charge of both the Division 1 and its sequel, The Division 2, and it talks about how the creative director for this game said at the time that this Star Wars game would be a huge departure from that series, and it would be totally different from anything that Massive had done in the past. And then it also goes on and says how we talked about this because there were leaks. We've talked about this game in the past. And it says that this game is supposed to include some form of interplanetary travel. So maybe something like No Man's Sky is what we were expecting. Despite all this, and it sounds super ambitious, and Ubisoft is pushing this for early 2024, the big red flag here coming from this article is where it says this game hasn't been progressing as well as hoped, even though hopes for this game are incredibly high internally. So this game looks like it's on its way to some development hell, and if they're going to rush it and try to push it out for early 2024, that just sounds like a recipe for a disaster to me.
Yeah, I mean, there are different ways to kind of read into this. Like, hasn't been progressing well can really mean a lot of things. On the one hand, it could mean that, you know, this has been a really sloppy development cycle, and that it's been buggy, and that it's been kind of difficult to put together. Another kind of interpretation of this might be that it's just not going as fast as they'd like it to, which I wouldn't be surprised, because this does seem, Nick, you use the word interplanetary space travel. Like, that doesn't sound like something that you can just cough up overnight, and I really wouldn't like to see any group of developers being rushed to pick up the slack for Ubisoft's failure in planning and development in the past few years. So I really hope that these developers of this game aren't made to pay, but also I don't know. This is the studio that is best known for the Division 1 and 2. These are not games that are known for interplanetary space travel or for any sorts of space travel. Or I don't know about you, Nick, but the Division 1 and 2, they don't really have a reputation for a big sprawling open world, do they? I don't know if this studio might just be pulling off something to a scale that they've never pulled off before, and I don't like the idea of Ubisoft putting unnecessary pressure on this group of developers, and especially if it's going to impact the quality of the final product of the game, which I'm hoping is something really special.
So the Division 1 and 2 are they are open world games. They're not anywhere close to as big as interplanetary space travel big, but they are open world games. Yes, they're not as big, but they do have the experience. The studio has the experience in making those open world games. Now, for me, one of the big things that was missing from this article, and maybe it's just not the time nor place for that, is I thought it was interesting that there was no mention or Kotaku did not push to see if they could get any information on whether or not this is a single player game or a multiplayer game, because Massive is known for making those open world multiplayer games. Both the Division 1 and Division 2 are co-op multiplayer games. They are single player games, though, with that online co-op component as you progress through the story together. And I was expecting something similar when it comes to this upcoming Star Wars game. Once I heard that Massive was in charge of this project, I was like, oh, okay, open world Star Wars game led by Massive. That means it's going to be in that same vein as how the Division was developed. But we're reminded in this article that the creative director for this game from Massive is saying that this is going to be completely different from what they've done in the past. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Does that mean they're going to just go exclusively open world single player game? Are we getting another single player only Star Wars game? As you all know, Andreas and I are desperately wanting a multiplayer game. Or does that mean they're going to go in the direction of a more PvP open world multiplayer type game, like a GTA Online style game. They're going to push the multiplayer elements of it more. That's kind of the big thing I'm really wondering about this project is, what does that mean it's significantly different from what they've done in the past? Does that mean more single player in nature, or does that mean more multiplayer in nature? Because they've done the open world in the past, so that's not going to be different. What's significantly different here?
Yeah, I think from what I'm expecting the different thing here to be the scale. I think that, and obviously, guys, there's not too much confirmed here, but just based off of the tea leaves and the speculation, the smoke here, I'm guessing that it's got something to do with just the scale of this game. There really does seem like this is going to be a massive game, and I really can't wait to see what they have to show. And on that note, I think everybody has their crosshairs set now on Ubisoft's Summer Showcase, which is going to be on June 12th. So hopefully there's no confirmation that this game is going to be there, but Nick, that would be something if we got something tangible from this game. And if they are going to be trying to push this game into that 2024, early 2025 time slot, it might be a great time for a reveal trailer.
Wouldn't it be crazy that that's the day after the Bethesda and Starfield showcase if we got indie news on the 11th and then significant news about this open world Star Wars game on the 12th, like back-to-back days? Like that would be crazy if we actually like finally started getting the news for the games that we've been highly anticipating for a long time now. Now, the last thing I just want to mention before we get out of here is that this article does state that two sources told Kotaku that the company's goal is to release the game sometime within the current fiscal year, but that is probably too ambitious. But that these sources still do expect that this game to ultimately slip sometime into the following fiscal year, which runs from April 2024 through March 2025. And to me, Andreas, kind of that later 2024, early 2025 seems a lot more of a realistic expectation when it comes to this open world Star Wars game, just because we haven't seen much about it. And that was kind of what we expected when we talked about it, was that late 2024 into 2025 timeline. We weren't expecting this game. At least I wasn't expecting this game in 2024. So it sounds like those sources are kind of in line with our expectations. And it sounds like maybe Ubisoft is just kind of in a panic and they might rush things along. And I really hope they don't, because I think it is important that the first non-EA exclusive contract Star Wars game, outside of Lego Star Wars, of course, has to be really good. Like the first AAA Star Wars title that's not connected to EA outside of that exclusive window, they have to get that right. Because then that's been the whole conversation, right? This whole time is like, oh, just wait for EA's exclusivity to end and things are going to get so much better. Well, now's the time for things to get so much better. So this game has to be good. So Ubisoft, please, don't rush this. Don't ruin this.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree in that sentiment, Nick. And also, I just want to advocate for the point that you brought up earlier, just very briefly, that there is a vacuum in terms of multiplayer Star Wars right now. And I know, we do get some pushback from certain segments of the community when we do recommend multiplayer for certain games. This is one of those games where, the Division 1 and 2 did have that co-op multiplayer component to it, and it's in their DNA as a studio. They're familiar with how to make multiplayer games. I think this is really a chance here for Ubisoft to get on the board in terms of multiplayer Star Wars and let some people play with some friends, which would be just really cool to play some new Star Wars games with your friends. I don't know why that's so contentious, but Nick, I'd just love to play some Star Wars games with you.
I know, right? I just want to play Star Wars with you, man, and they just won't let us.
Yeah. So, well, guys, we really do hope that we hear something soon about this game. I'm hoping they don't rush the product. I'm hoping they do rush the marketing and that we get our eyes on some trailers here. Maybe June 12th is going to be the day. And if so, it's going to be a very busy month for us upcoming June with, like you said, Nick, Bethesda, maybe seeing some Indiana Jones. And then obviously we have the movie itself coming later on in the month. So it is going to be a very active Lucasfilm month, including the Indiana Jones stuff and hopefully some new Ubisoft Project Helix information. But Guys, let us know in the comments down below what you all think about Project Helix. Are you excited for this project? Are you a little concerned about the rush and the release window? Or are you thinking that this one is going to ship on without any issues and it's smooth sailing all the way to a 2024 release? I'm sure that's not the case, but I can't wait to find out with all of you, and rest assured we're going to be covering it as it all develops here on Lunar Squadron. However, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, we will see you all next time.